Once more I was confused, but my legs were already moving, because you're always confused by your feelings, scrambling towards the door and throwing it open so I could give chase. He wasn't in the foyer, which made sense for how quick he was to leave, but I wondered where he would have gone. The gym, maybe? Seemed too obvious. He's had to trick us. But something was drawing me upstairs. Following my gut, I headed to his bedroom. The door was ajar when I got there, and I eased it open to see him sitting on the edge of his bed with his face buried in his hands. Hi? Closing the door behind me, I wandered closer and heard the sounds of sobbing. He didn't move, didn't flinch. As far as I knew, he didn't know I was there. I eased myself down next to him, unsure of what to say. Thankfully, he spoke first. I'm so fucked up. His words came out as a croak, followed by him wiping his nose on the back of his arm. He was trying hard not to look at me, but once or twice, I saw him look over only to dip his gaze away soon after. What do you mean? I could see the snarl before it started, but the moment I leaned back, he grabbed fistfuls of his own fur and struggled as he tugged. All that shit I said before. Oh. Yeah, okay, sorry, I forgot. And here I go, fucking ruin your date or whatever. Why the hell do you come up here anyway? I don't know. What? Fuck. Just thinking about you two like that and walking in on that.
Walking in on what?
I don't know.
On what? They had a question where they broke up and then they stood around. What are you talking about?
He trailed off there, replacing words with a growl. His fists were clenched, at least having moved away from his fur, but seemed to threaten to draw blood from how tense he was. I'm such a fucking coward. Why? Dave, stop talking. Just stop saying things. Every time Dave says anything, it just reinforces that he doesn't listen to the scenes he's in at all.
He pays less attention to this game than I do. And I'm playing Halls of Torment right now.
That
like, come on.
Should have been me. That should have been you kissing me? What do you think? I don't know. I don't know, Ty. His eyes were scanning me, trying to find something to say, but I got in first.
It's such manufactured drama. Like, it's so...
Yeah,
it's
but also
so
just confusing
weakly...
because of the way that we had to close our eyes and everything. I'm like, is the implication here that Dean's way of following up the supposed breakup was to say, picture the person you love the most in the world. Just really picture them. And was he going to kiss us while it's happening? What the fuck is that? What am I supposed to do with that? Is that, like, was he trying to kiss us in that scene? Is that the implication? But he specifically wanted to kiss us while we imagined who we liked more than him?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's fucking weird.
What are we supposed to do emotionally with that? And what was his goal? Like, that's insane. That's a completely insane behavior. Was he trying to give us the idea of finally kissing the person that we think we like more than him? Like, through roleplay? But then that person walked in because it's the most insanely unexplainable scene you could ever have. I don't know what's going on between us. I don't know how I can help. I don't know what happened. I don't know why you were being all close to me only for you to say such mean things earlier today. It sucked. I'm not emotionally intelligent at all.
It was cringe. It was cringe.
I breathed in, continuing and putting on my serious face. I assumed that if I stopped, I'd lose my momentum. It hurt. Worse than you've ever hurt me before. And I was scared, confused, torn between hating you and hating myself and letting it happen. Then I go on Dean's date and try to have something nice, and all I can think about is what? Whether or not you hate me.
That is, you did not telegraph at all that you were thinking that during Dean's date. In fact, during Dean's date, you mostly were thinking about food.
Yeah, he was wide-eyed. He was totally bright-eyed and childlike and totally in the moment, honestly. And since we're in his brain, we know he didn't think about Tyson a single time the entire date. He didn't care. He was like, wow, I love lemon meringue pie. And then
he also was like very engaged with what Dean was saying and asking him about the recipe and where things were coming from. And like,
he's like very excited about the non-conversation they had where they talked about basically nothing and don't have any chemistry, but he was there. Like, we saw the drawing with his beautiful little eyes, with all the different little like anime bubbles in them to show you how like enamored and innocent he is. He was not torn and devastated. He grabbed me quickly by the collar, his eyes wide and fiery, and the corners of his mouth turned up to bare teeth. I would never hate you. Then why?
Why'd you say it? Yeah, idiot.
Why would ever make you be so mean to me? Oh, what would ever? There we go. I'm so sorry. That was me bad. That was me bad. We stayed in silence without an answer for a few moments before I felt his hands flex against my fur and watched as he looked away to breathe in deep. When he turned to me again, he had an intense stare as if sizing me up. Tyson? He breathed in deep again before almost bellowing out his words as if in defiance of what they meant. I'm a fucking queer, alright?
Okay.
I love you would have sufficed, but
yeah,
okay.
It's a quirky character moment, I guess.
What?
Listen, I'm an advocate for really messy, complicated, negative gay character interactions. Like, I think that the world is messy and I like seeing it depicted in art. I don't...
It just doesn't work.
This just doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. Like, I just don't see it at all. It is very hard for me to imagine someone's big coming out moment being this.
It's also just like Dave's expression, just... He should at least be shocked or something. Like, this expression is...
He looks very smug.
He looks so smug and pleased despite having cried most of today.
It looks like the Vocaloid magnet. You don't know what I'm talking about,
no.
Do you? Yeah, it looks like the magnet art. There are going to be 3 weebs in the comments that are like, I know what you're talking about. Also, I'm 35 years old.
No, I'm just... I just see this and I'm like, Dave wants him to eat him. That's what this expression means.
Oh, you go to vor. Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
I follow.
Look at that expression. The absurdity of it made my mouth twitch upwards despite a deep panic to not want to annoy Tyson further. Yeah, he looks deeply panicked, obviously. That said, it didn't stop the trademark chuckle, and with it, Tyson roughly adjusted his grip on me again. Oops, that's not the confirm. He pulled me up to him, our noses touching, but it was enough to stop me laughing. Not that it did anything to get rid of the smile on my face. Don't you dare fucking laugh. I'm sorry? I snickered a little more, not really sure what to say or do, or what was appropriate as far as a reaction. God, just fuck it. Yes. So that's more like the reaction I was expecting. That's pretty good body language for how much of a mess this kiss is. how much of a mess Tyson's everything is.
Yeah.
That's well drawn. It was only a slight adjustment, but rather than our noses touching, I had his mouth against mine in a kiss, or what could be called one. There was no technique, and it was closer to him just pressing his mouth against mine. But the moment I parted my mouth, he seemed to relax, and leaned in harder, pulling me closer too. Felt so surreal having him like this that I didn't even know what to do with my hands. Without breaking the kiss, he pushed me back on the bed, causing me just to squeak against his tongue, but not for 1 second did he stop, even as he shifted how we were on the bed to be more comfortable. Just write more than 1 sentence, it's fine. You don't need to put it all in one. After a couple minutes, he pulled back, both of us breathing heavy. I looked up at him, stunned, and he looked back at me in a mix of disbelief and fear. I like the idea of a couple minutes of that, like multiple entire minutes of just faces squished to each other, but not actually successfully kissing in any real way. Just squeeze facing. Ty? Yeah? Did you just... Shut up. I have something I need to say first. What? I love you. I know it's fucked up. I know that it's wrong. You know, the other bullshit that goes with this. I don't know shit about how this is meant to work. But that's the one thing I do know, that you love me? Yeah. They act like there's so much in their way, but honestly, there's almost nothing in the way of their relationship. There's nothing that actually is blocking them. They're not, like, just stop calling him brother, it's weird, because he's not. He's just someone that's close. He's just someone that's close to you. That you met like 2 years ago. He nodded slowly, his expression unchanging. I really fucking do. As a brother? Dave!
He's just dumb, okay? It's you can't hold it against him. He's just dumb.
The way that you can improve this game by just deleting 50% of Dave's dialogue, even though he's the main character, is insane. Because all it does is constantly remind us that he has no fucking clue what's happening.
He just doesn't have a personality. He's not a real character.
He actively ruins scenes by revealing he's not emotionally engaged in them and doesn't understand anything that's happening. And it also just infantilizes him to the extent where it makes it feel like it's unethical to be in a relationship with him to begin with. Because, like, what is his deal?
Yeah.
He huffed and leaned back, scratching his neck. It's as a brother, it's pretty fucked up. Yeah, I wish you guys would stop bringing it up. Like, as of 15 days ago, when it wasn't canon anymore. I don't know why you're the one that does these things to me, but I hate it. What kind of things? It was at that moment I realized how he'd shifted us, with my rear in his lap. Ah. You only then realized that you were sitting in his lap? How? I just assumed one day you'd be all over me and I wouldn't have to ask. That I could just figure it out then and play it off as just helping you out. Letting you experiment being gay or whatever. But I came out to you, Ty, before Dad. Before Orlando, I told you first. I didn't need to experiment. Dave came out to Tyson first? Oh, geez. That also means he just came out. Which is not... You'd think that'd be part of his character? It feels like they just made that up just now. Because that would inform his character in a variety of ways. Speaking as somebody who just came out 2 years ago, approximately when Dave seemingly did, I'm exactly in his headspace. It would come up more. But once again, when Haas seemingly came out to us, we didn't even know if he was coming out as liking men or women because the idea of homophobia or coming out was so unestablished in the setting, despite being a character, playing as somebody who just came out, that we didn't even know what to do with that.
It's confusing. It's one of those things that also is confusing based on the time scale of like when did he meet Tyson? Because he could have been like, you're the first person I came out to in 6th grade. Whereas like if it was in high school or something, you know, it means something different. I don't know. It's weird.
It can't have been in 6th grade because Tyson was hoping that Dave would want to experiment on him before he came out, I guess. So he already knew Dave was gay before he came out, is the implication or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Or maybe maybe Tyson is speaking more generally and Dave is speaking specifically. So Tyson's like, I don't know. I thought maybe you would want to experiment with me because you're one of them queers. And it just turns out, no, I don't know. It's very weird.
Look, I don't know how this works. I don't like guys. I don't like girls. I don't like anyone like this. It's fine. You can just be demi-romantic. His hand flexed on my hip and his ears drooped. I hate not knowing what's happening to myself or why you're just the one thing I can't explain about where I fit in the world. But I know you're the exception. Why? Why didn't you say anything? 'Cause I was shit scared what it'd mean? Or what your dad would think? I shifted up to my elbows and he leaned back to give me the space. I think he would have been fine with it? Look, I'm sorry I fucked up your night, and I'm a piece of shit for saying that stuff earlier, but now you know. I don't think I'll properly know until I've had time to, like, process it.
Sorry, I'm just gonna put it out there.
Process what, Dave? This entire route was about this. How are you, like...
Having a romantic partner that your parents like is like generally considered a helpful thing.
Yes.
Especially if you're gay.
Especially you already knew that Dave's dad liked you, and he also isn't bothered by Dave being gay.
What do you mean? I was worried what your dad would think of me, your super boyfriend. Like, what the fuck? It's very strange.
It's non-drama. It just doesn't fit. It's very strange. I also just can't. I'm so confused by the idea of Dave being like, I don't know what to think about this, like as if he's learning any new information. Whereas like, at most, the new information is basically just the idea that Tyson might not be attracted to anyone except Dave, which is fine. That's a thing that can happen. It's not like Dave's the chosen one. It's just that he's bonded with Dave in a specific way and doesn't understand any queer terminology because he's Tyson. It's fine. It's that this was clearly a whole route about dating Tyson, and they already had hit several milestones and admissions in past days, so none of this is like new info. But Dave is so fucking stupid, he doesn't understand the idea that the clearly homophobic Tyson who's struggling with this like pushed him away because he doesn't want to engage with this, and that doesn't change the fact that he was telling the truth before. Like, it just, Dave's just completely incapable of processing incredibly basic things. And now he's almost acting like he just found out for the first time Tyson's in love with him, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
The fuck? He nodded slowly and sighed, looking off to the side. But Ty? He looked to me, confused and curious. I had no idea what was going through my head, but I know I had a choice to make. What? But there wasn't a choice here, because I didn't write one. I reached out to his chest, running my hands through the fur along his neck and looking him in the eye. Did you reach for his chest or his neck? I love you too. It's just like the sentence just couldn't. One sentence didn't agree with itself about where he reached. So I'm like, what? I love you too. Really? Even after? Oh look, he's also got a little Kirby in his mouth.
Yeah, he's got a little guy too. This is the real plot of Password.
Yeah,
they're all
the body snatchers. They got that parasite that fish get, where their tongue gets replaced by a monster. You just kissed him. No, he spread it to you. There was a hint of disbelief.
This book is full of spiders. Oh no.
There was a hint of disbelief in his voice, even at a whisper, but I nodded to him. A few more moments passed before he kissed me again, building to that same intensity of when he kissed for the first time. There was enough of a pause to remove my shirt, then his. But that was it before it became very clear that where this was going, and we were getting there fast. So much for needing time to process it. We both wanted it, and even after joking about it for a while, we were both eager. Just feeling him against me like this felt right. It made me feel wanted. And for now, everything else could just wait until after I'd had my moment with my wolf. My wolf!
This is the most unerotic, like, admission of a sex scene I've ever read in my life. It's just after everything, you were going to give yourself to him a few days ago in significantly worse conditions. What?
Yeah, it's about as messy as that can go. My wolf. We just missed May Wolf. We did another May Wolf game jam. It's June now.
Was there a game as good as Before You Depart?
I didn't check
I guess you wouldn't know. You didn't play any of them.
Yeah, I don't know what any of them are yet. There's a whole like review system spreadsheet, so I can like look at that and see like what the top 3 are or something, and check those out maybe. It'd be interesting if something crazy came out, because yeah, Before You Depart was a huge standout. And then I know Jackson participated in that one. We met at cons since then. The two of us were out of breath. My rear was sore for the most part we were sticky.
Oh my god.
That was... I couldn't describe it. And from how Ty was holding my hand, he had the same idea. Even being stuck together for a bit, just writing things out, was full of feelings I'd never felt before, and part of me was eager to try it again soon. They explicitly nodded. I'm amused by the fact that when I was making a thread of SFW...
Wait. They explicitly nodded. Oh, stuck together for a bit, just writing things out. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, well...
yeah, he was stuck.
That's funny.
I'm just amused because I was referencing... Was it because Discord was happening and whatnot, I made a thread that was just, here's a compilation of all the safe for work visual novels I know of so far in the FEN scene. And people kept suggesting password for the thread, and I kept ignoring them. And it's like, not only does this game clearly have scenes that reference NSFW stuff in more explicit detail than you'd want in that context, but like, it has a sexual assault.
Yeah.
I don't understand password fans. Do they not read it? Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
You all right? His voice was softer, relaxed, as if he were whispering only to me. I think so. Come on, shower time. You stink. He scrambled off the bed and dragged me along with him, still attached, pushing us under the water the moment it was hot. And you have smelling like me right now. Why not? He just looked at me over the shoulder.
Everyone else is gonna sniff you when I parade you around.
He looked at me over the shoulder, and I could feel him riding up under my tail, getting excited all over again. You can't just say shit like that to me. It'll get me going again. Such things like, why not? Horniest thing you could ever say. Did you want to go again? Fuck yes I do, but what? Tell me again, Dave. I want to hear you say it, so this isn't just some fucked up dream I'm having. What? Did I love you? The wet thumps of his tail hitting the tiles next to us made me smirk, and he rested his chin on my neck. One more time? I love you, Ty. I really don't deserve you. I hope you know that. Then work for it.
It just doesn't,
All
yeah,
right.
it just doesn't feel like anything. It just doesn't feel like anything.
I'm not going anywhere, but you hurt me like that again, and, well, I barely got the words out before he had his arms around my middle, hugging me tight. I'll make it up to you. I promise. You better. The others aren't going to put up with it otherwise.
Don't like that.
My bodyguard group that all governs my relationships and all forced me into a deanship. He whined, but I reached back
It is
to
very
hug him around
funny
the
that
neck.
all, in the context of this, actually, this is the first time interrogating this, all of his friends were like, we're going to set you up with Dean. Dean is going to be so much better for you than Tyson. And then Dean immediately after is like, yeah, nah, you don't have a personality, so I think it's not going to work out. It's just like really funny.
It feels like they all tried to save him, yeah.
But it's funny because in trying to save them, it just highlights that just Dave doesn't, like, his friends are gonna be, they're basically burdening other people with Dave. It's just like, oh, what, they were just gonna doom Dean to a life of the most boring person in their friend group? Like, what?
Like, he's the sacrificial bear. But they're also so close, but they don't know about Rami, because they're also don't know each other and aren't friends. It's such a tangled
Very
mess.
strange.
He whined, but I reached back to hug him around the neck. But for now, at least you've got a boyfriend, right? For now, at least. Why would you say it like that?
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Boyfriend. I could feel the corners of his mouth shift upwards. How? And his how do you feel that?
I guess he must be nuzzling his like face. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
It's hard to unpack that exact feeling. And his tail started wagging all over again. He repeated the word with the slightest hint of excitement. And once more, I felt him under my tail. If that's what you want to call this, right? I do. I really do. Of course I fucking do. Well, let's get clean so I don't smell of you. So at the very least I can go fill Dean in on what happened. Well, I mean, smelling like you would really fill him in.
Why do you owe Dean anything? He broke up with you!
Yeah.
What?
He broke up with you. Why are you thinking about Dean right now?
It's so weird.
Dean presumably moved on with his life. Like, Dean is not that invested on whether or not Tyson feels good, is doing well. The wagging stopped. Right. Shit. No, don't agree with him like that was a normal response.
It's really exceptionally strange in so many ways.
I assume that's why you didn't want me smelling like you? Mostly just need to get used to not having to hide this sort of stuff. You're mine now, right? So, you would have been fine with me going to talk to Dean like that? Just smelling like your cum? Just walk over to Dean, dripping? The fuck is that sentence? What do you mean by that? What a weird thing to say.
This is really bizarre. This is really strange.
Right. Probably not a good idea, but God, when we're alone again, your ass is mine. I stepped out of the bathroom refreshed while Tyson finished drying off. Ty, I'm gonna find Dean and explain, okay? Yeah, okay. He approached me slowly, placing his hands on my shoulders. Come back soon. What? Afraid I'll be gone for too long? No. Aw, Tyson, you're gonna make me think you're a hopeless puppy at this rate. I ruffled the fur around his neck and he just stared at me unimpressed. I expected him to quip back with something, but it never came. I can't reconcile the idea that Dave is suddenly like the sassy twink from Fur Piled. I won't be long. Good. I'll be waiting. As I came downstairs, I could already hear the yelling. It seemed to be a pattern that yelling happened right after a lull in activity. Yes, after the gap of nothing happening, something happens. You cracked the code. But I followed it all the same. What do you mean, but? And another thing! Orlando had one of his fingers directly against Dean's chest, knife in his other hand. He stopped when he looked over to me before turning back to Dean.
Wait a second, I just realized something. We're on the werewolf ending path, right? That's what just happened. Did we fix Tyson with ass? Is that what just occurred here, technically? Is that what prevents him from losing his mind?
Well, no, because we got him out of the room that was making him go crazy.
Sure, but we could have done that in any other route.
Yeah. Well, both happened.
Okay.
The difference between this and non-Tyson werewolf route is that we stayed with him on some of the nights, but in the other routes we switch with him and we stay in his room.
Yeah.
That's the difference between these. The weird part is that that this one still had a middle part where we were split up for some reason for a few days, even though we had already gone to snuggling and progressed there. So it was weird because it wasn't explained why we split up.
Yeah. Okay.
Saved by the hyena. We wouldn't want to actually elaborate on this plot point. Am I interrupting something? Yeah. Dave, you heard it before you walked in. I know you did. Just giving Dean a piece of my mind in regards to our mutual friend.
A character who does not exist.
Watanoki-senpai. If I had any way of contacting him or something, I'd have done so to apologize. Uh-huh. Maybe he doesn't want an apology. How do you know?
What did he do?
I don't know.
Give us something to give us something to work with. What did he do?
It's them talking around a movie all over again.
Yeah.
You get a feeling for these sorts of things. But he never told you my name? Well, no. Orlando shrank slightly, and Dean turned to me, looking me over. You've had a shower. I'm guessing things went well? Well, that fucking blows their cover immediately. Not to mention you were gone for a while. Also, all the thumping. Sorry, things sort of happened. But you're all good now. I think so. Things are good. But I'm glad. Sorry that it didn't work out, but for what it's worth, if you're happy, then I am too. What
you feel doesn't matter right now, Dean. Who gives a shit?
Why are you centering yourself? You broke up with me.
He made this about him.
Yeah, it's like, you're the one that broke up with me here. Fucking move on.
It's very patronizing
life.
to be like, good job, champ. You got laid. I'm so happy for you, you uggo who I refuse to date. You personality-less fool. Like, it's like, okay, well, all right.
What didn't work out? The date? Yeah. turns out it just wasn't meant to be. In that I broke up with him, and now I'm calling it fate. I've never heard someone use the passive voice to deflect blame of themselves breaking up with someone before. Dave, you were broken up with.
It's so shocking. You were broken up with in a relationship that no one, especially not you, was trying to make actually happen. And on top of that, in the other route, where Dean is maybe even more persistent about dating you for some reason. He is utterly broken at the concept of a future where he can't date you. What?
Was it something with the food?
Yes, Orlando, it was your fault.
Uh-huh.
This is about you, Orlando. You selfish idiot.
Yeah. Just everyone's reaction to any stimuli near them is, did I do something wrong? Every time. Even when it's clearly not even related to their lives. Except Roswell. Roswell's a little shit that will never think he did something wrong. No, nothing like that. Just, don't try to explain his breakup with you. Where's Tyson? What do you mean, where's Tyson? Upstairs, waiting. Waiting, huh? This fucking winky face. Waiting for what? I don't understand anything. Ever. I'll tell you tomorrow. You don't need to fucking explain. Wait, you don't need to give people a play-by-play. What are you doing? But could I borrow Dean for a moment? I guess so. We're not gonna get anything about Watanuki-senpai.
No.
But before I forget, thanks a bunch for tonight, Orlando. I had fun, and the food was great, and God, you've been waiting a long time down here. Oh, you're very welcome. Just, don't forget to fill me in on what's going on. About, fill me in on you getting filled. Everyone needs a play-by-play. We're all chaperoning your fuck.
This is it's just so bizarre. I mean,
normal people just say, hey, yeah, call me when you make it home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a sexually motivated friend group with people who have sex with each other as friends, like, you just talk about it. You don't make a big scene about it and then go, well, let me know. You go, hey, you guys bang? Yeah. That's sick. Was it good? Yeah, it rocked. Okay, cool. I'll catch you later. That's how it goes. That's just what it is. So it's very weird that everyone here is like very overly invested in each other's sexual encounters while also acting like they've never had sex before and the concept is entirely new to them, which is, again, one of those things that makes the characters feel younger than they are, because anytime a romantic inclination or a sexual thing seems to happen, characters are like, oh, you've seen a boobie? What was it like? Fill me in. Okay, well, your life has now changed irreparably. Like, it's just very weird. It's just such a juvenile way of approaching this. It's hard for me to relate to. I'm sure there are people that relate to it like this, but it's just very difficult for me to process. I'm having difficulty connecting to these characters on this level.
Dean ushered me into the dining room and closed the door behind him. Well, I want to apologize again. You've got nothing to apologize for. Well, I want to apologize.
Dave wants to apologize for having no personality. Just giving Dean the worst date of his life.
I want to apologize to you for you breaking up with me.
Very strange.
Things are complicated, but I'm slowly figuring it out. As your friend, take all the time you need. I'm happy for you.
We don't know you, Dean. What are you talking about?
Take all the time you need for what? We're not dating. And we're not going to, explicitly not going to. Take all the time you need for what? I'll be waiting for the not dating will do. Dean glanced back to the door quickly. Maybe give me a few days to recover, though. Disappointment and all that. You need to recover from dumping me?
Some Envy Adams shit. It's crazy.
Hello again, a friend of a friend. I knew you well.
That is crazy. That is
Jesus
absolutely
Christ.
wild. That is fantastic. I can't believe he just said that. That is bananas.
Now that the truth is just a thing that you can bend.
It is just fucking funny.
Jesus Christ. Ugh. Sorry. What? What?
This is genuinely unhinged.
Don't understand. Don't be. Just do me a favor. It's called a cream pie. That's the one I asked for. I ordered a cream. That's what dessert was supposed to be.
It's not okay. This is just so strange.
What? If he treats you wrong, you let me know, all right? I'll sort him out. Okay, I promise. Maybe I'll show him a couple things too, depending on what happens. Anything you do to my boyfriend, I do to you. I think we could find something we both like. That isn't cartoons anyway. Uh-huh. What are you implying, Dean? I think you'd like that. Now go on. You have a wolf to get back to. I nodded.
Why is Dean suddenly the most supportive person in the cast for a person he actively dislikes?
He's such an intense wingman all of a sudden. It's so strange.
It's very strange.
I nodded, and with a wave, he sent me on my way, turning around to head back into the kitchen, presumably to where Orlando still was. As for me, I headed back upstairs to where Tyson was. I know! You could just fade to black and fade to here, and we know what you were doing, because that was what, like, Dean already said what you were doing, and that's the place to cut the scene. Now with several more lines about what's gonna happen. I got back to Tyson's room and looked around. The moment I closed the door behind me, I was grabbed and pinned against the door with another kiss, just as clumsy as the first one. He hasn't figured out to open his mouth yet. You're back. Told you I wouldn't be gone long. You coming to bed now? Do you want to call it this early, or Dave? He literally said he wanted to just fuck again. He stepped forward and started to grind against me shamelessly. What he wanted was clear as anything, as if it hadn't been explained already. Verbatim, as an agreement you guys agreed to. Like, cause the thing about healthy couples is they communicate. But the problem with Dave is he's incapable of learning information. So he's actually
It's true. He's true.
He's one of the only adults in the world that can't consent, like legally, because he doesn't know what's happening. He
literally
ever.
cannot process information.
Yeah, he's actually written to be literally incapable of consenting ever. He's just broken. He just can't. It's wild. I'm like, what the fuck, Dave? I chuckled nervously, finding it having a similar effect on me from the prospect of it, momentarily forgetting the tenderness in my behind from earlier.
This is the least sexy way to refer to getting railed.
Yeah,
it's just very weird.
My butthole is sore, and that's like 50%.
My behind hurts. My rear end is uncomfortable.
It's 50% of all explanation of him even having had any sex. It's just that. It's like, okay, man. You need help? You right? You don't want to go to sleep at all, do you? Yeah, Dave. No? He had his hands on me again, touching without restraint, eyes filled with a giddy hunger that made me feel small, but just as eager. Okay, but before we do, we need to have a small talk. What was there to talk about? What? For starters, I want to sleep in my room, at least for tonight. Alright, well let's go. Wait, that's not all. What else? I like what we did, I really do, but like, we don't have to do it all the time, you know? Dave? I don't think that the second time you fuck is the time to be like, wow, all we ever do is fuck. I can't believe you're thinking about doing it a second time. What is this interaction? You're just like immediately curbing the intense emotional reaction and be like, no, stop being intense. But it felt great. At least doing it with you felt great, you know? Right, but We can still just cuddle. We can talk about things. Just now we can also do that other stuff, right? He seemed to think it over as he reached out for my face. You sure? If I didn't have to go check back up on Dean, I probably would have said yes in the shower. Stop teasing me. Not my fault you've been stopping yourself from being... You've been stopping yourself from being a horn dog, which I'm currently telling you to do. I'm currently telling you to stop doing that, but I'm also negging you for having stopped yourself previously. I'm not a... You are, but I like it, which is why I'm telling you to stop. Just don't go making dumb jokes about it. How about this? We go to my room, and we can do whatever we want. Anything? Yep. This fucking face. I'm so upset by the horny faces in this game. They just, every single one of them looks like the horny old Japanese man from an anime.
Yeah.
Well, shit, let's go. I mean, grab some clothes or whatever, we can go to bed. My bed clothes for my bed fucking for sleeping and fucking and sleeping in clothes. Famously, no one in this game walks to the next room in their underwear. He quickly moved around the room and gathered his things and marched out of the room with me in tow. He didn't care that he was just in his boxers. What clothes then? Wait.
Why would he ever care? He's walked around in his boxers before. Who cares?
Yeah, I just grabbed clothes for the morning. He could just get them in the morning. What the bizarre. The moment we were in the room, he threw his clothes off to the side and he was kissing me again. He flicked the light off and we made our way over to the bed, him undressing me along the way, and we settled into a repeat of what we'd done not even an hour earlier. We fell asleep sometime later, exhausted, and still as close together as we possibly could be. Ty holding me against his front, with the two of us just as messy as we'd been before the shower. As close as you can be, as you can possibly be, huh? I just have to deal with that in the morning. But for now, I was happy.
I can't believe a day passed. Finally, we're free from this torment of this day.
This was a much
moved
longer...
on to the torment of a different day.
Last time we recorded, we got through like 4 days. We've been stuck in one day for 3 hours, though, because it was the date day, the Dean day. The most possible changes possible, which is that we changed the date person, and we also did the Dean scene instead of skipping it, because that changed. Oh, he had the weird vision at the pond or whatever. And he starts having the weird. So he's gonna have the weird visions in this timeline too. We previously thought those were happening because Thanatos kept knocking him out, but he's never done that.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is what we thought.
But I think he's not doing it in this route. I guess it'd be harder to tell because I am skipping all the reused scenes. I was still on my side with Tyson right up behind me, holding me tight. My mind flashed back to the night before, reminded by the fact that we were naked and what we'd done. And reminded by what we... Hey, you can be reminded by the fact you're naked, but you can't be reminded by what you did. You're reminded of what you did. Those are different. Not that I hated it. Cool. Glad you're having a great relationship. Not that I hated it. That wasn't the worst. It's the equivalent of like giving, like, after you finish, you give the other guy like a round of applause.
Nice effort.
You shake his hand. Not that I hated it, quite the opposite. But laying here with him sleeping, I had my worries. Maybe we crossed that line too quickly. 20 days into this trip, maybe things won't work out, and we just ruined what we had. Placing my hand softly on his, I leaned back against him and listened as he breathed. It was level, relaxed, and I closed my eyes to try to get some more sleep. Hey, you awake? Yeah, was probably gonna get up soon though. Liar. He growled playfully right next to my ear, the arm around my chest tightening a little. Not gonna let me at you again?
This character is so extra. This is like, all right, well...
Maybe later, Ty. I'm not feeling it.
I just don't know...
I'm not feeling it. Dave said such passively mean things, and I don't know if the game ever registers it.
Yeah.
I'm not into it. Nah, I'll pass. I'm full.
That is the funniest way you could have thought to say that. That is correct. Yes, that is the right answer, Keith. That is deeply funny. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, it's just thinking of the most awful way to phrase that, and you just did find the right thing to say.
I've been training at this my entire last 13 years of my life.
Jesus Christ, that's funny. Oh my God.
He was shocked with the answer and pulled back. I took that opportunity to sit up and then put on some pants. I needed to clear my head and left the room soon after. No! Dave, you need to shower. No! Dave, we've specifically established how much a fucking mess you are down there, and you just put some pants on and walked outside.
And he just sounds moist. He's stepping around like he's stepping on like a carpet that's been soggy the whole time.
Dave, you're gonna get a rash. I was barely dressed, but I just, for the rest of this entire day, just keep in mind that he's just cum scabbed.
Don't say things.
I was barely dressed, but I needed to get away from him just for a second. I loved him in the best ways, but part of me was scared of that fact. Not that I had anything to compare against, but the sex was great too. Oh, what a whiplash. What a whiplash of a paragraph. I loved him, but I was scared of that. But the sex was great too. That's just not, that does not flow. There's an order in which you put thoughts. There's a flow to them. There's a logical sequence of like, here's the good thing, but then there's the bad thing. But then he just whiplash, like, oh, the sex was great. I'm like, why? Why is that there then? Like, I just could have like, the sex was great, and I did love him, but part of me was scared of that. Like, there's a way to write this that's not insane. Hey, Dave, what's wrong? It's my turn to be the emotional block in this relationship. We have to take turns. Otherwise, we would just be happy and then transition to the story where everyone gets shot. But we gotta keep this going. He stopped me on the stairs, a hand on my shoulder. What's gotten into you? His scent was still all over me, seeping into my fur from the night before. It was a strange mix between comforting and worrying. Why? And I turned to him, my eyes sunken, and not knowing where to look. Last night wasn't a mistake, was it? What? Like, did we cross that line too quickly? Should we have talked more about what happened? And you talked about it so fucking much. And also with how desperate he was for your affection and for confirmation that this is good and secure and safe and this is actually happening and it's not a dream or a nightmare. You being like, was last night a mistake is like one of the worst things you could say to him. Like, you're actively gonna give him a crisis and ruin his world. Like, what are you doing? What's there to talk about? Ty, you know I love you, right? Yeah, that was why you kept saying it over and over and over, and then he kept begging you to say it more because he really needs you to say that. Yeah? And you're sure you love me, right? Yeah? What, you're doubting that now? It's not that, I'm worried, right? Worried that I'm getting my wires crossed is all. Worried that I'm enjoying something for the wrong reasons and that something's going to dawn on me one day and I'm just... You're just dumping all these insecurities on him. Now he's going to doubt your entire relationship and whether or not you love him. How do you walk this back?
It's so weird.
I hate Dave so much. Gesturing loosely in the air, I sat down on the stairs. Moments later, Tyson was next to me with his hands loosely in his lap. What's wrong about it? When I tried to save you the first time, you punched me in the nose, and when I begged you not to go, you wanted me to have sex with you. I saw him looking around quickly in a panic, but he didn't say anything, so I continued. When it was happening, I was so focused on doing anything to keep you alive and safe. So focused that at the time, I didn't really register what was happening. But now that we've done it, what if I just let you call the shots like that. I don't understand. I thought that... Didn't we... What a time to bring back the sexual assault as a plot point now.
Yeah.
That's specifically the thing you need to resolve before you get here. And Dave is an insane person. It was a really bad thing, Ty. So I'm just worried that now we're together, that things like that might just happen again. Not even on purpose, but I'm worried that I'm putting too much trust in you, maybe. Just a little. Well, that hurts. I'm sorry, but I can't just ignore something like that, Ty, even though I do most of the time. And only selectively bring it up in the most bizarre times when really they should have just fucking split ways the moment that happened forever. Like, even though it only happened in a different timeline for him. Oh wait, no, that wasn't a different timeline. That's the canonical timeline. That's this timeline, right? You're right. That's the saving him one.
Yep.
So, that's it? You want out? No, Ty, I don't want out. I just want some reassurance that I'm not going to be raped for trying not to do right by you. Wow, these characters.
It's not a thing that people worry about. Typically, that's not a thing that you worry about.
Don't date him. It's such an easy answer. It's almost like introducing this was like an irreparable and upsetting thing to do to Tyson's character, and you can never really walk it back, and no one might have like, oh, brother, and so on, can ever fix it. Like, you've really permanently ruined Tyson, and your best option was to pretend you didn't do that scene at some point. Because I
mean, the weirdest thing of it at all is that it also, I mean, we've talked about it a few times, but again, the goalposts were shifted so far by that scene that the rest of Tyson's weird confusion about his sexual interests are like also falls flat. So it's really weird to be like, we're gay now, Dave. I love gay. Your ass is mine. It just feels weird because again, it's like, dude, you were about ready to square up and dive into some hole earlier. Like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Why is this a revelation to you?
It's a lot. Or everything's a lot. It's so strange. It's so weird to bring it up again at this point. I just like... In part because like they never resolve it. They continually never resolve this, and it's like the most upsetting thing, and it makes you feel afraid of being around him, and then they just turn it off and just go right back to going in again. It's just such a strange dynamic to write. And I just don't think that in any way was the story ready to handle this plot point. So it's just fumbled it the entire time, and it's actively made the undertone of every scene distressing. I just want some that you're not going to hit me just because you're in a bad mood or anything else terrible. You can't do that anymore. This is... Stop. I wouldn't. But it doesn't change the fact that you did, and that scares me. He shuffled around, snatching my hands and holding them in his.
This feels like a scene that was written specifically in response to people being like, it's weird that you made Tyson do that, and then this is his way of like approaching that or like fixing it, I guess. But it's just a half measure.
Yeah. There was an observation that Sean, the YouTuber, made about J.K. Rowling's books, which is that once you get to the middle books, each book seems to be weirdly addressing a plot point from 2 books ago. Mm-hmm. Almost like it's like the lag between books. Like she was writing the next book, but then while she's writing that one, the previous book came out, and everyone points out this plot hole or criticism. So then suddenly 2 books later, even though that plot element would have been gone for an entire book in between, she suddenly resolves it 2 books later. Yeah. Like how in like the 3rd book has the time turners, and that's like a huge thing to dump into your setting. But the 4th book never mentions them again. Then the 5th book destroys all of them. Just out of nowhere, just in the middle of the fight, to the point where I didn't even notice it happened when I read the books. But like, I guess Neville like broke the time turners in that fight with all the the dark wizards and the Ministry of Truth or whatever, or Ministry or whatever. So like, it's just a bizarre element there, and like you can feel like that could potentially be happening here for sure, where it's like, I'm bringing this thing up for like wildly out of where you would reasonably and narratively put it, but it's because I'm writing this linearly and I'm responding to feedback I'm getting in real time. It's like, why didn't you resolve the sexual assault plot line? It's like, okay. Because it's like, at that point you would have put out the update where they hook up and declare their love for each other. And then that was presumably where I think the day 20 transitions are where each update flips over.
Yep.
So then like 1 to 3 months later, he's then writing an update that's like responding to the fan backlash of not processing that correctly before or something. But it means that the narrative's incoherent because Dave's reacting to stuff outside of the fiction instead of having any kind of consistent and like decided upon like character motivation moment to moment. Like it's not being motivated by or informed by the previous scenes. It just jumps around like insanely. It's rough. It's one of the reasons why the entire game needs to be rewritten, because there's the kinds of like all over the place fragments that can happen when you're like, you know, writing out your notes and your outline and trying to write it for the first time because it's so much fiction to write, but you then have to fix it by rewriting the whole thing. That's how fiction books work, is you turn in your manuscript to your editors and then they plan all these things, then you functionally have to rewrite the book at that point. Like that's how writing usually works. I get that I'm new to this, but all that shit was because I was too much of a wimp to admit that I loved you that much. It's not an excuse, I know, but Ty, if you love me that much, why would you want to push me away? Or even result to something so horrible? I don't know what internalized homophobia is, and you don't have the vocabulary to explain it, so we're fucked. I don't know, I'm messed up in the head, I guess. Oh. Is there anything I can do? You know, to prove it won't happen again. I don't know, everything's going so fast in my head right now. Everything's going so fast in my head again. He's acting like they got drunk and hooked up without talking about it, but what they actually did was talk about it a lot, and then hook up, and then take a shower and talk about it more.
And then talk about how much they enjoyed doing it and how it was a good decision.
And then he went and told all his friends that they fucked. And then he's like, I'm happy for you. And if you ever have any trouble, you tell me. And he had even more premeditation and more intent. And then he went back up to fuck again. And then they slept all night together. And even when they went up to fuck again, they specifically relocated to Dave's room because he had so much presence of mind. He even like had preference about where they were going. Like, stuff did not move fast, really. There was so much talking about it.
And this is after weeks of deliberation, including a scene where Dave goes, I guess I'd have sex with you. That could be fun, Tyson. Yeah. And then Tyson goes, I will sexually assault you. And Dave goes, if it's you, I guess. Like, it's
just so much is happening. It's just like, Dave's head is spinning as if this all just happened to Adam. Like, as if he's going to have this reaction. Like, I can't believe you just kissed me like that. It's like, what? What? He reached out and cupped my cheek lightly, rubbing his thumb against it carefully. That is why it makes me worry about, like, if it is in response to fans, is because the fans don't seem literate.
No, yeah.
So their feedback will be adjacent to what's wrong, but wrong.
Yeah.
Help me understand, please. You love me, right? Of course I do. And it's not because we have sex?
I understand. I mean, he's okay. Yep.
They've literally had this conversation before.
Yeah, but also they've had sex twice, so obviously the premise of this whole thing, like, Tyson. Yeah, Tyson came around to loving Dave before they ever had sex, so it's probably not based on the sex.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
It's not because of the sex, because it wasn't happening yet. And also, the you love me, right, just happened 5 minutes ago in this conversation again. Look, that part's fucking amazing. Especially after not getting to do it after so long, yeah? But that's not the reason I love you, alright? After so long. Then why? Shit, where do I start? I'm not good at this gay stuff. Try. For me. I like how you look out for me. I wanted to do the same for you. I don't know when it happened, but at some point I couldn't stop thinking about ways to make you smile just so I could see that again. His ears drooped slightly and he shook his head. It sounds gay as all hell, but that's just what I feel. I don't want to do bad things. I'm sure I'll fuck up at some point, but now that I have you, I'm scared to give you a reason to leave. Just promise me, Ty, if anything that bad comes up again, before you do anything else, we'll talk about it. Even if it's going to upset me, even if it's going to upset you, we have to talk to one another. Okay. Ty, promise. I promise. Okay. Want to head back to bed? Yeah, sure. We headed back to bed and cuddled. I nestled under his chin, and he had his arms around me, just rubbing my back. I don't know at what point I dozed off again, but I felt somewhat relieved, though the dreams I had still bothered me. When I awoke again, I felt rested, and Tyson was once again cuddling me from behind. I could tell he was awake, though, and once more I placed my hands on his. Hey. Morning. How are you feeling? Fine, I guess? Okay. Cool. His tone said it all, and I wove my fingers between his, leaning back. Boyfriend? His tail started wagging, the steady thump of it under the blankets cluing me into his mood immediately. So I wasn't dreaming? It's real? This is a weird...
This is like the 50th time you've confirmed this.
Yeah, it's amazing how they're just questioning whether it's real infinitely. But it's even weirder. It was like, I wasn't dreaming. I'm like, bro, we literally woke up and argued and went back to bed since then.
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about? It's so weird. Was that entire scene inserted later?
That's what it feels like.
It feels like this part was written first, and then they added the other stuff later to be like, oh man, audiences didn't perfectly like that part. It's like finding out that the argument between Marco and Amicus at the beginning of the game was rewritten. Because at first, because originally, and this is hilarious, the Nefario and Amicus scene was fan service and not meant to be devastating. And the fans backlashed that, and so some of Marco's the straight version of Adastra. No. So some of the most cathartic lines that Marco ever says were rewritten to be there. Yep, it's real. Leaned over and kissed me on the cheek before sitting up in bed, with me following suit. It's kind of strange, huh? It's weird, yeah. But I like it. Is there anything you wanted to do today? Well, if you're offering. You're as bad as Dean now that you've been enabled. Dean, who I've never fucked.
Dean, who I've never fucked, who has never actually been never actually been that sexually forward with you? I don't get it.
No, he just says horny jokes, like the way that half the time just the average dude does. It's not remarkable as a character trait. Haha, innuendo. Innuendo.
This is stupid.
I'm stupid. I live this way.
You're the reason this exists. I'm blaming you now.
Yeah. Listen, I watched Scrubs a lot, and I really appreciated
it. It inflicted you with a terminal chronic illness.
Yeah, it's called the Todd. That is my favorite fucking joke that he ever said in that show. Was that I think somebody snapped back at him about all the innuendo or something. He said innuendo and then walked off. I'm like, I appreciate how stupid that was. I'm not.
It's kind of amazing how Scrubs just completely faded from the cultural lexicon. It felt like it had a lot of staying power for a while, and now people just don't watch it anymore. It has not survived other shows existing in the cultural milieu, so to speak.
Yeah, I remember it. So you don't have to. I'm funny, damn it. If you're good, then maybe tonight. We'll see. No, if you're good, thanks. Then maybe tonight. I'm full. Fine. Then, don't know. I'm fine with whatever. You wanted to talk to everyone else, though, right? Yeah, I feel like the next few days might be rough, but end of the day, I've got you, right?
I feel like the plot has physically stalled just to have scenes where Dave and Tyson fuck. That's basically what has just happened.
Yeah.
This is, to be fair, and in the game's defense, this is the most focused Dave has ever been.
Yeah. It's a little weird. He's like, I think the next few days might be rough. It's like, okay, we know this is like the last few days of the game, but from his perspective, they're so far from day 30, and that's the nearest they have to any kind of like structure to this thing. I don't think there even has been any escalating actions. There's no hint that there are like any looming threats in the woods or anything. They just like silently disappear for a week. Fuck yeah, you do. After we lay in bed for a bit longer and we got dressed and headed downstairs. Not much of a need. Okay, there we go. I thought I was about to read not much of a need for a shower. I'm like, what? Not before a much needed shower, given how he fell asleep last night before, though. Why did you say those actions in that order? Why not just say them in the order that they happened? So much thoughts. We made it to where we had talked earlier, before Ty took my hand in his and laced his fingers between mine. He didn't look at me as he did, keeping his gaze forward as we headed to the dining room. I'm just gonna walk in here like, hey everyone, I'm gay. It didn't take long for everyone to arrive, each of us taking a seat at the table with Orlando. What did it at? Oh, not much. Although he made no effort to hide what had happened, leaning over and rubbing my shoulder with his mouth full of coffee. Osmond wandered in, and with Benson at some point, not saying anything to us, and continuing on to the kitchen, just looking tired as I felt. Yes. Let's see. I mean, he's kind of a jerk. That's putting it lightly. Everyone's attention went over to the door leading into the kitchen, where Osmond was standing, coffee in hand. Thanatos is a little gremlin, if I'm being honest. He made his way over to the table and stopped next to me before drinking from his mug and giving me a look. He's not too bad, but he's not exactly helpful. You're not going to tell them the important part? Oh, right. He's also the vault? Confused looks were shared around the table again, with Oswin sighing. Would this be easier for me to go get him? It might be better to hear it from his mouth. I already feel like I'm crazy. Not a problem. The secret's out now anyway.
Oi, I'm already here. That was not his voice, but I don't care.
But
I'm already here.
It's just a reference to Osmond for a second. Yeah, this is just the Thanatos talk that happens at this point, but with occasional references to Osmond being in the room. The fact that the conversation plays out the same way to me is wild. Let's see. He doesn't take orders from anyone? In theory, that person should be me. Alas, that's not the case. So confirming that he's not the master.
There is a really good... I think Mikey made this essay about M. Night Shyamalan called It's Just Dialogue. You know what I'm talking about?
It's just dialogue?
Yeah, well, no, so like M. Night Shyamalan, it basically is an essay about how M. Night Shyamalan's filmmaking style from like a visual and a direction level is actually, like it is actually very iconic, and the reason why the movies that he made that are really beloved is because he is a skilled filmmaker, but his biggest weakness as a director is that dialogue is, quote unquote, just dialogue. And he doesn't...
He ends up writing insane characters as a result, like that don't talk like anyone.
Exactly.
I just watched on the way from some convention, probably Vegas. I watched Old, and even that one just opens up with this child that talks like no one has ever talked.
Yep.
He's like a 5-year-old.
And it basically goes into this idea of like he just approaches dialogue like it's just words that people say, and like it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't interact with the plot in a meaningful way. Outside of like just being a vehicle for the plot of like, oh no, the thing is happening. Here is where we are going. Like very functional dialogue, basically. And that is how I feel about characters in Password. Like they just say things and it doesn't mean anything, and they don't say it for a reason.
Which is rough
they
because
just say things.
Password is a game about talking, and most of M. Night Shyamalan's movies are not about talking. They're about a monster or something.
Yeah, and it's just weird that feels applicable to this because and it actually does feel really applicable because the way Chris writes dialogue it's just words. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just words.
Gotta fill up the space.
What are you talking about, Master?
I can see the smile on his face and the way he stressed that last word that made me wonder specifically what he was playing at. Wonder what he's playing at. We literally just confirmed in the dialogue, Dave, that Oswin is not his master. He's not the person he answers to.
But then who? You all don't need to know that.
Okay. Then why hint at it? I could verify this. I was consulted on if there was anything that could be done after the hospital issued their diagnosis. Regrettably, Roswell has the right of it that is untreatable. The fact that they just have Thanatos do the whole conversation in both timelines so that they don't have to write it, just further emphasizing how much they did not want to split the timelines at all and how pointless Route B was. This also ultimately means that everyone's saying, like, wow, you're playing Route B, but that's the bad route. There's so much more in Route A, has proven to be false. Everyone who said that was wrong. Route A is not a better narrative, and Oswin does not fix the story, especially since most of it's still the same story, because I'm still skipping most of it, because it's just the same scenes again.
And the thing is that most of these scenes that we're skipping are scenes we had problems with, that were faulty before as well. So it's not
even here, the big revelation, it's just the same scene again, but Oswin's there a bit. And earlier it was like, and previously it was like, oh, it's the scene where we reestablished the scavenger hunt, and it's just as clunkily of a way, but also Oswin's here a bit. Oswin is actually super not important to the plot, somehow. And it's fascinating. But replaying if we weren't playing Tyson route, if we were playing Sal A right now, there'd be so little new material because Oswin is a nothing character, shockingly. Just like everybody else is. I think people just think he's important because he's positioned the narrative to be the guy who should be important. But
he explains mechanics.
Change the narrative.
Not that Thanatos doesn't either, but his presence in the plot is there to be expositional, and I guess you get a little bit of exposition extra with him, but not really in a meaningful way.
No, only in the way that he tells you an explanation of time travel that's self-contradictory and doesn't match the other things.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to being the Candyman hiding in his lab so that the normal scenes can play out anyway without him. So it's this is not magically the more because it did feel like Route B was just the whole game falls apart, so Thanatos has to pick up the pieces and just get really involved, and that's why he's such a heavy hand. But it's the Oswin route barely has Oswin in it, so who cares?
Yeah.
I can verify this. I think I already said that was untreatable. Yeah. Everyone seemed to stay quiet as Oswin spoke, his tone level and calm. So now we verified that Thanatos is the vault, and we verified that Roswell is in fact sick. It's not easy to tell a child that they're going to die, but from speaking with Roswell's mother, they sought out every avenue they could think of.
Mom and Dad were very accommodating with answering what questions I had. I barely remember what I asked given it was so long ago, so chances are I asked the same thing multiple times over.
An unnecessary thing to elaborate on.
Yeah.
That was the advice of the consulting pediatrician. Granted, I'd second that advice. Okay.
I think it was the right call. I appreciate knowing what's happening to me, why I got sick at times and whatever.
What are they talking about now? Okay. I hope you're happy with yourself.
I've pushed the conversation in a way that best benefits me, yes.
What did he last say?
Logically...
Talking about, they're talking about sacrificing Roswell, I think? Yeah. Maybe? I don't know.
didn't really want to get chased around the room by Tyson again.
Roswell, are you all right?
No, not really, but it had to be done, right?
That's right. I thought that was Oswin.
I guess they're referring back to whenever Thanatos brought up that Roswell's dying. That's what they mean by helping her happy. At least we know, but where does that get us? What happens now? I believe I'm going to take Roswell somewhere so he's not alone. Perhaps a slow game of chess. I'm sure I have some candy somewhere. But I'm able to hang out with him.
It feels really insincere to have Oswin be nice to Roswell at this point and be like, I'm going to offer him candy just because he's a dying sick kid. When Oswin has known this whole time that Roswell is a dying sick kid and has harassed him over eating his cereal. Why? I don't get it. It's pointless characterization.
I think it's just because he went through the moment of having to explain it to everybody.
Yep.
I forgot about how, like, fucking Roswell admitting the stuff is handled better in the doomed route, because in the main route, fucking Thanatos just says it. He just fucking throws it out there at people on day 20 unmotivated, so he never actually has to admit it. It's so frustrating. Oswin shook his head. You have plans already from what I've been told. Besides, I think this calls for a doctor's touch.
But you're not a doctor, remember?
Boy, you are absolutely still young enough for me to hurl you through a window. Mind your manners.
Ha 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 ha. He's so relatable and quirky. He's not taking shit from anyone.
Child violence. Except not child. You're young enough for me to hurl you through a window. He's an adult. It's not age related. It's just how big he's gonna be now.
Thanatos, do I die from being hurled out the window?
We're on the ground floor.
No.
Good to know.
I'll leave Thanatos in your care for the time being, Dave. Thanatos famously likes being in someone's custody and plays along with that. He pulled Roswell out of the chair and nudged him towards the door to the foyer. We'll have a chat later. Why? Then it was just Thanatos and me staring at one another. Bye.
Done already.
You were waiting for us to finish?
At the behest of Oswin, he believed things might get a bit complicated and figured he'd spare me the need to play mediator.
Oh, it wasn't so bad, really. Thanatos crawled from my shoulder. Ow. Down my arm closest to the counter, and started to look around the kitchen, seemingly letting me have free rein.
It begs the question where Oswin is now, though.
You weren't listening in?
Now that wouldn't be very polite, would it? You are very bad at being
to listen in on the conversation
a hired assassin murderer who also has eavesdropped in the past. Like, it's just a little bit unhelpful to be selective about this, isn't it? Wouldn't you think?
It would be rude to listen in on the conversation that literally every other character in the entire story is present for except for you. I don't understand.
Me neither.
I just don't understand on a fundamental level what that even means. Well, Roswell explained his life circumstances.
It's all right, Dave. I'm aware of how little time Roswell has left with us.
He what?
Okay, so you just know everything. You just know everything, so you don't need to listen. That's what you're saying. Okay.
What if that's not what Dave meant? Benson just fucking comes out with that.
Roswell was just talking about how his family created this. What do you mean?
Oh. Okay.
Now, I believe you had something you wished to ask of me.
How'd you know? He glanced across at Thanatos before turning his eyes to me.
Oswin, along with other contributing factors, raised it as a potential outcome for today.
I'm sorry? We can avoid it if you want.
No, it's quite all right, although I do wonder how much you'll get from it.
Cool. This conversation might be pointless, just warning you. The three of us headed back into the dining room, and I dropped Thanatos back onto the table as I looked around, wondering how best to start.
To clarify, you wanted to see what we can find out from what you saw in the vault regarding my death, yes?
It's just the investigation? Is this where they weirdly investigate the death 100 years later, and they accomplish nothing? Leaves me in a difficult position. How do we fix it? You know,
Perhaps it's better if I frame it this way. Do you know to whom I am most loyal?
Oswin, obviously, right?
Yes and no. More specifically, I gave my loyalty to the Hammond family in order of seniority.
Okay.
That doesn't really check out, but okay.
I guess Florinika's older than Oswin.
Oswin is the one that sits as the family's head, as it were. But should another family member be present, well, that may change. Florencia ain't here anymore, in other words.
Sure, but how does that affect what we're talking about now?
Because should Oswin want something kept quiet and request that of me, to a fault I will obey.
But why?
You know, you are just a person. You can be a person and just make decisions.
He's bound by the butler's code. Just
Okay.
this bizarre secret agent type character that also has zero will of his own has become a drone to a family, despite that family, like, not really inspiring loyalty or being important or good particularly. It's just like, he killed 100 children. I will follow him to the end of the earth.
It's very weird.
But why? What if they go after Oswin next? What if they come for someone else? You're holding on to who you think it is just puts all of us at risk, doesn't it?
I respect that you're upset about my decision, but I assure you I am not budging.
But the others... Ben's put up a hand, shaking his head.
To the unknown assailants, I'll be of little help anyway. In this instance, the best I can do is bring it up with Oswin, and you are more than welcome to do the same. No, take a break. I'll be seeing you later. Oswin might want to chat later, so I'll be in the lab to listen in.
In your cage?
What do you take me for?
He scurried off towards the foyer, then out of sight. Blah, blah, blah. Ba-do-do-do-do. I reached out for me and I shuffled so I was closer. He put an arm around me, then pushed his nose into my head with his other hand still on Haas's shoulder.
They're literally teenagers. Like they're like, ooh, woo, this is my 7th grade boyfriend. I love them. We're gonna make out while everyone else is having a conversation. It's annoying.
Toaster won't hug me.
Sorry.
This is how he looks at relationships. He thinks that he's normal.
I'm just saying, if you're sitting hanging out with friends and you're just all over each other, it's a little weird. It's a little strange.
They're not that all over each other, weren't they? Let's see.
Tyson is just all of a sudden very touchy. That's all.
Yeah, they're on each other. Oh, Haasline. We haven't had those since 3 months ago.
Literally free. It's true, we haven't. So I get what's going on between you two, so when are you going to tell everyone else?
You knew already?
I had a good idea from just that alone.
How could you tell? From what?
You nuzzling Dave like that? Plus, you're way more relaxed with him here than with us than what I would have assumed otherwise.
It's weird.
What?
It's so weird that they're explaining this.
Yeah.
So many scenes feature a relatively normal action and then a relatively normal conclusion, but then the person who draws the conclusion says something insane about how they drew the conclusion, and you're like, what the fuck?
You
What?
literally can just have characters understand a thing and then not have them explain every single time why they understand the thing.
Because when they explain the thing, they very strangely, they understand the thing and explain how they understand the thing, and their explanation of how they're understanding the thing makes me think they don't understand the thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So sue me.
Go on, tell me about your boyfriend.
Ty grumbled and his grip on me tightened, but I could tell that he was starting to blush based on how his color was shifting ever so slightly in his ears. You know everything about him already, mostly anyway. You've told him about me?
No, he knows about you because you're friends, allegedly.
What the fuck?
What are you talking about? What?
Dave, Haas is your friend. He just met Tyson, who's somehow his best friend now. Yeah, why not? That's not the right answer.
No.
What the fuck?
I truly don't think these guys know each other.
No one in this
It's
game
very
was
confusing.
friends before 20... I don't think these people existed before 20 days ago.
No.
I think this is one of those
born in a
upsetting
lab.
sci-fi universes where you literally just... you pop into existence with full memories and you think they're real.
So, Tyson
that's-
finally asked you out?
That's why their backstory doesn't make sense. It's because it's a fucking unicorn. They all remember the same unicorn.
So bizarre. Such a strange... I feel like I am losing it. Like, I feel like my brain isn't calculating what is happening.
Fucking Dave's gonna go into the fucking basement where there's a furnace. He's gonna find an orange sweater in there. Sort of. You're not gonna make this weird, are you, Top Cat? It's a horrible nickname. Top Cat is so bad.
Yeah. Not unless you tell your boyfriend you love him.
Dude.
This is so weird and cringe, and
Yeah.
this is so weird. This is so weird.
Yep. You don't have to, Ty, it's fine. Of course I love him.
If I'd asked you this a few days ago, you would have taken half an hour to admit that.
Yeah, well, things change.
Next, you're gonna go kissing him in front of me, as if you have absolutely zero issues with that.
This is just a dare. Again, Ty's grip on me tightened, and he seemed to think it over. That's not up to me. I think it is, if a little bit, right? The word uses of if are strange to me. They could be local, but it's just, it always feels wrong.
I'm not gonna force it, but I am very much digging this reaction you're having. Ooh, voyeuristically weird. Really weird.
And the scene continues without it, so I guess it doesn't happen.
Awkward. That is a really weird transition. You are correct.
It just doesn't continue. A little? It's not like we're doctors either. Well, Oswin kind of is, but he just said the same thing Roswell told us, almost like he is superfluous to the scene. That's pretty much it, yeah. Are you both doing okay? Dean looked to Sal, who rolled his shoulders, thinking of his answer. Brrr. Just gonna reference that Oswin exists. Let's see. All of his normal friends left, right? He wandered over to Dean, started scrambling the leg parts, so now he's on Dean. Yeah, Oswin and Roswell together. Let's go. We're gonna go. You're not playing your best today, Roswell. Finally, a new scene.
Maybe.
Check.
I'm not the only one playing sloppily. All according to Keikaku.
He followed the voices through the dark, my hand occasionally touching the wall to know that I was still walking straight. He never has the flashlight that he has on the start screen.
The flashlight?
Yep, the flashlight.
Checkmate.
Oswin's annoyed grumbles quickly turned into loud laughter, the kind of rumbling laughter that almost sounded foreign. Strange in that the most I'd heard so far was an amused chuckle. As I pushed the door to the lab open, Oswald's laughter stopped dead, and the two people we expected to see were sitting there in a daze. In a daze? Hey.
Dave?
And the whole bloody entourage. All of them? We just wanted to make sure Roswell is okay, that's all. I see.
I don't understand. I'm fine.
Orlando stepped forward, playing with his hands. I'm sorry I ran out like that. Is it really happening that you're dying?
What? We've already established this.
Well, it's because there's the whole... Yeah, so what happens is on day 20 in Route B also, the whole confession happens, then the entire party splits up and we have a separate scene with every single group of people in the entire roster all processing the information about Roswell.
Yeah, it is just weird because it was already established in this route that Roswell is dying and everyone needed to come to terms with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through this because this is definitely just the same scene but in a new location because we weren't in the lab last time.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow through those. It's gonna do the same thing again where it's like every single person has the same talk. Because I remember that line. Once your friends leave, we can speak. His voice is as low as mine, but there was something else in his tone. Not sadness, maybe worry? It was hard to place, because I'm really bad at reading people. He just has face blindness, is what we're learning. Dave just literally can't read emotions, and that's every single thing is like him guessing. Either that or it was the author just writing the several emotions it could have been, and they're like, I'll pick one later.
You just completely cut out for most of that, so I think your internet died in the middle of you talking for a second.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Or mine did. I don't know. It was weird. I couldn't make out a single thing you said, but it's fine now. You're back. Hello.
Everyone else heard it. It's fine.
Yep.
It was hard to place, but it was clear that he wasn't wanting to talk immediately about whatever it was he'd called me for yesterday. Yeah, I know. That's not his expression. That's just him saying to your face that once you friends leave, we can speak. You didn't have to deduce that like you're fucking Sherlock Holmes in his mind palace. You could just listen to the words people say, Dave. He guided me out of the room and cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. I'm glad you've had your reunion, but this room isn't one I typically let guests into. If you're planning on discussing things further, might you do so elsewhere? There were mumbled apologies before people started to move, Roswell seemingly leading the way forward. 2 things before you leave. First, I'm going to be borrowing Dave for a little bit. I'll send him upstairs when we're done. Second, well played, Roswell. With a small smile, Roswell continued to lead the others out and closed the door to the lab behind him, leaving just me and Oswin, and Thanatos still on the desk.
I thought they'd never leave.
That's a lie, and you know it.
Well, I do like to pretend to not know every outcome, don't I?
You don't need to interrogate what he said. It's literally a fucking turn of phrase that's not literal to begin with, Oswin. It never meant that. Oswin? What did you want to talk about? Right. I wanted to talk to you about the next few days, if you don't mind. In addition, your conclusions to your investigations thus far, where you learned fucking nothing. Why? He gestured to the available chair that Roswell seemed to be sitting in and I took it. Seemed to be sitting in? You walked in on them playing the game. He was sitting in it. Can't just randomly apply softer language to things that's less precise for no reason when it's not actually up for debate. In simple terms, I want to cross-check what I know against what you do. You know stuff? I've come to my conclusions, yes, but I'll admit my reasoning is flawed. For example, I haven't seen the fucking vision. Well, what did you want to know first? Do you have a prime suspect for what's been happening? A modus operandi? Anything that links these events together? Not really. What of last night? Well, I foiled it by talking to Thanatos and finding, we call it a loophole?
Sure, a loophole works.
I just had to keep Tyson out of his room for the night, that's all.
It's true, my master didn't factor in a loophole like this happening.
Or they did.
My master's a big dumb idiot.
I'm just thinking like, or they did factor it in because like their goal isn't to kill Tyson necessarily, it's to create different outcomes.
Yeah.
Which we're no closer to figuring out either. That's not entirely true. What makes you say that? Assuming Thanatos was telling the truth at breakfast, then we can at least narrow down some of the suspects, or at the very least, start forming a picture. It almost sounds like you figured it out. I have my guesses, yes. And those guesses are...
It's almost as if the person that you were just playing chess with, who was multiple steps ahead of you and acting differently than he normally acts, could possibly be Thanatos' master. I think it's so clearly Roswell or Florencia at this point that it's like... getting in the way of it being a narrative twist.
In any other narrative, I would want to read into the fact that Roswell beat Oswin at chess in a game that is itself a death game.
Yeah.
Because that would be the way to tip the hand that Roswell's behind basically everything. But this game's insane.
Yeah.
So that's my counter argument.
I think that's fair, but I also think that we're just smart and that we see through what the narrative is doing.
If I tell you, do you promise not to be defensive? You're about to point the finger at one of my friends. I've narrowed down the possibilities to, well, two. Two that you might want to consider anyway.
Oh, this will be good.
The first is Haas. He's been here before and knows his way around, and quite frankly doesn't play with an open hand in the way someone like Orlando does. We can rule out Haas. Why? Because he's your friend? I suppose we can treat his failed attempt at fixing the ECM as evidence to that, although why Thanatos would actively choose Haas as a master leaves me to believe it's least likely of the two options. And the other being? You. How is Roswell not even in the conversation?
Yeah, it is so obviously not Haas. It's so obviously, it's gotta be Roswell, right? Like it has to be. It's gonna be some really dumb thing too. It's gonna be like Oswin back in the day gifted Roswell a pet rat, and then Florencia put that rat in a lab because she didn't want to take care of it or something, and that's why Oswin made Thanatos' corpse into a robot, and Thanatos still has attachment to Roswell because his programming when he was a child says that Roswell is his master or something. Like that's how I see this developing. Like it's going to be some stupid twist like that. So it is so hard for me to buy that it is anyone other than him or Florencia because of the way that they have positioned those two characters specifically. It's just insane. It's so weird they're still trying to do this.
Given how morphogenic field storylines seem to work, I'm fully open to the possibility that Dave enters the fucking time stream and becomes the fucking password god and has actually been running this whole thing the whole time like June did. The problem here is that they literally just finished explaining that Thanatos obeys the members of this family in a specific order.
No, that was Benson, wasn't it? Benson obeys the family.
Yeah, but Benson's also following orders that are reinforcing the scheme, and frankly, Thanatos probably follows the same rule set. But we'll see. But that's just more evidence that should be pointing towards potentially suspecting Roswell. So the fact that they I've narrowed it down to these people, and it's fucking Haas, and nobody even mentions Roswell, feels like a very explicit way to try to sort of basically cheat by just misdirecting us into thinking these are our options, and then just not including the obvious.
It is misdirection. That's it's like a magician's trick of being like, haha, look over here, we're signposting this so you miss this super obvious thing that's happening. Like
we have the suspicious needle with Roswell, we have the fact that Roswell organized the entire trip while knowing he was dying. Like there's so many things that point to Roswell more than anybody else that refute, not even including him in this list of suspects. It's incredibly sus writing.
I mean, and just the juxtaposition of these scenes back to back with each other of Roswell's big delivery about things and just everything about him playing chess with Oswin and beating him, and this is just cinematic language. If it's there for no reason.
There's also just the blunt juxtaposition of also being all right, here's time for the big talk, the important talk. What's in the important talk? Thanatos is the vault, Roswell's dying.
Yep.
Those are the two things in that conversation put together for some reason as if they're of similar importance. Meanwhile, Haas is over there. That's his character.
Yeah. Yep.
He's Top Cat. You. I cracked a smirk when he said that, assuming he was just joking. When his expression didn't change, I frowned. That's not very funny. I didn't mean for it to come across as a joke. Just consider what facts we have to go off of. I looked at Thanatos, who was still smiling to himself, watching us both carefully. Through virtue of your father, we know that you're connected to the vault, evidenced by the visions. Given Thanatos is the vault, the connection established there is, well, obvious. But I only met Thanatos the day I met you in the lab a little over a week ago. There's more evidence, circumstantial, but it's there. Thanatos sought out you and converses, to my knowledge, mostly with you. He breaks out of his cage to go discuss matters with you.
He didn't seek us out! You told him to talk to us! He was talking to us! You were talking to us through him! What?
We're also just the one who can use the vault, which is Thanatos' mission. He breaks out of his cage to discuss matters with you. Outside one instance with Dean, but that seems to be more of an outlier. He looked me over, quirking a brow. And from what I've heard, I shouldn't need to explain the line drawn between you and Dean, do I? He's Dom. The end. No, I guess not. However, there's a big problem with this accusation which bugs me. What's that? If you were his master, then it would mean that his allegiance was set to you the day you arrived. In those first few days, you conspired with him to make some elaborate plan and got to work immediately. I didn't. Besides, even if I did, why would I go around stopping these things from happening? Indeed, a question I would pose to Thanatos.
And what about me?
No, really,
What about me?
I wasn't listening. You remember every iteration of your existence, including the first time you met your master, correct?
What of it?
What was your first meeting like? The very first meeting?
Why do you want to know?
Answer the question.
No.
Am I missing something? I think we confirmed that Thanatos doesn't remember this anyway, in the other timeline.
Very possible.
Oswin wants to know what changes from loop to loop when I meet my master each time. He thinks it's going to reveal some great secret that I've been hiding, but he's wrong.
Well, that sucks. Were my sister
Deep,
here,
Dave.
she'd get you to talk.
What's dear Florencia gonna do about it? But that's not what you called her, is it?
You called her Florenica.
The rumor true does come out.
The rumor come out. Does Florenica is gay? Shut up. Oswin picked up a beaker and realized what he was doing before he had thrown it at Thanatos. He set it back down gently, breathing out slowly. Are you okay? I'm stressed, trying to figure this out. It shouldn't be this hard, but it's like playing chess against someone who has already played the same game many times over. Okay, well now it's definitely Roswell.
Yeah.
If you're just fucking gonna call it out in the same fucking scene, just gonna reveal to us that Roswell's played this game of chess before. Okay, man.
See, this is what I'm saying. It's just so
fucking
obvious.
Blunt. That's wild. Can I ask a question? Of course. Sorry, not to you, but to Thanatos.
What?
Whatever your master wanted to accomplish, the saving just one person thing?
What about it?
They haven't succeeded once yet, have they?
I don't know.
You don't know or you won't say?
What I mean is my memory is incomplete. I don't know.
How can you not know?
You said something to me once, Junior. Something that could, that most times through I've brushed off, but it's something that could still be possible.
What did you say to him that has him at this much of a loss?
The vault cannot show you your own death. You cannot pass on memories if you don't survive.
Oh yeah, I think I remember asking that.
If I've never seen myself die, how do I know? Short answer is that I don't.
Which would mean that we're in a loop of you failing by trying the same thing over and over again, yes?
Not exactly. It means that I'm chalking that up to a fail and continuing on. So if I've already succeeded once, I wouldn't know.
But where does that leave you, as far as trying things? I believe I understand the problem. Are you asking in a sense of how does he know what works and what doesn't? Kinda?
You not listening? I don't know.
That kills the whole experiment. Why'd you name him Thanatos anyway? I didn't.
I didn't.
Oh, I thought that was Thanatos. Sorry.
His text is in caps lock.
I know. It's the name. I look at the name when the name pops up.
What do you mean? I thought... Wait. So you made him, right? The actual body? And like... I gestured at a loss to Thanatos, not really sure what to, of myself anymore.
I'll save you the trouble. My master named me, sort of.
What do you mean, sort of?
From the second iteration onwards, I've gone by Thanatos. It's what I introduced myself as when I woke up, rejecting the original name in favor of, well, this.
Yep, he was a pet first. He was a
Also,
pet first.
But also, he named himself?
I guess so.
What was your original name then? Fuzzy Mumpkin. He looked to Oswin, then back to me. Before he could reply, Oswin cut him off. Hypnos.
Okay.
I frowned, sitting back in my chair.
I don't go by that anymore.
So wait, he was Hypnos, the master of the dream?
Yeah, the original clue we had for Sal.
That has just been truly irrelevant this entire time?
Yeah, it was foreshadowing? That's not what that word means. Saying the word earlier in the game. That's it. That's a terrible name for a rat. That's worse than Thanatos. So,
it is true. It is worse than Thanatos.
It is. So Oswin named you originally, way back at the beginning?
Lawrence. Oh.
Laurencia did, actually. I was going to name him Algernon. No!
Get it? For literary references, so we know that he's the writer of this is scholarly and learned.
But that's, what a tragic thing to name your rat. That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Before Junior here goes and asks, Osmond was just being clever. It's the name of a really smart lab rat in a story.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Who dies?
yep.
Why are they? They're explaining flowers for Algernon, but they will dance around every other literary reference and media reference.
To be fair, they didn't say it is from the story Flowers for Algernon. They said like a
guess.
rat in a story.
Oh, thanks. Is it a nice story?
The rat ends up dying.
Spoilers. Oh. As does his master, although much later. I don't think I like this story.
Dave interacts with things.
Dave is a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Also, Dave didn't read Flowers for Algernon in school.
To be fair, I didn't either. I just read
Oh.
it on my own.
I read it in middle school. Not exactly normal reading material, except for the part where it's in the school curriculum.
Yeah.
Although the book is in the library should you wish to go read it. Not that it will offer you much help here. Sure. Okay.
And wait, wasn't Roswell the first person to mention to us who Hypnos was? Wasn't Roswell the one who explained who Hypnos was?
I think so, yeah, because it was in the library.
Yeah, so I'm right. It's definitely fucking Roswell.
Yeah.
So obviously Roswell.
Osmond rubbed his head, breathing through his nose. It's akin to the fucking Roswell needle, and then never being brought up, and so on. Even though it's obviously set up to be Roswell's needle, where it's like the game is refusing to follow up on a single lead about Roswell ever, and it makes it really obvious that it's him because they're just acting like evidence didn't happen their whole game.
Yeah.
Like really blunt evidence that they will then like refuse to acknowledge, and then they'll like be like, maybe it's Haas. He's like been here before. Isn't that suspicious? Let's think about how much Haas has been here before. He knows a bear. Okay.
It's true, he does.
Osmond rubbed his head, breathing through his nose. How many days do we have? Until?
Judgment Day.
Who's being judged? Don't worry about that for now. Thanatos, I want a day.
6 days at this rate.
No. So many.
That means
6.
that 26 days is the last day. That's very exciting. We don't need to survive 30 whole days, just 26.
Yeah, but that's more than last time. I want less than last time. I know intuitively
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess it is, yeah.
Last time it was like 23 days or 24. Intuitively, I know the good ending would probably last longer, but I can hope. 6, you're sure?
It could vary by 1 or 2, depending on what my master does next, now that the last attempt failed. Things could be expedited or held off. I won't know till later.
Do we know what's going to happen sooner than that? Is there anything we can do to prepare? I'd be careful taking anything he says at face value, Dave.
Osmond, I need a favor.
What's the favor? Agreed. What could he possibly want of me? Weird interaction. Why did Dave even interact?
Forbid Benson from firing his gun tomorrow. Failure to do so, well, I'll leave it up to you to decide which way to go.
Oh, so it stops him from shooting the bear. What's going to happen tomorrow?
That wasn't part of the favor. Keep Benson from firing his gun, and things will be all right.
All right, for who?
Everyone, of course.
Oswin, was that all you wanted to talk to me about? I believe so. Why? Because there was something Benson said I wanted to ask you about. Go on. You said you were suspected. You said that you suspected either Haas or myself of being the one behind everything. That only you suspected us, right? I did. Why? Because Benson seems convinced that he knew who tried to kill him. And more than that, you also know, but told him not to tell anyone who he thought it was.
Oh, now this is interesting.
What makes you believe he's telling the truth? Is Benson a known liar in this narrative? Because he has no reason to lie, right? If I asked you, and you denied telling him such a thing, then he's clearly outed as lying. But that doesn't make any sense because he doesn't gain anything from lying if I can easily check. Sound logic so far. I don't like it when the narrative pats itself on the back for being correct about something because it's like, is it logical?
One of the things that's kind of irritating is just how like Benson is treating this entire thing like it's like once again he's treating everything like it is a chess game where it's like sound logic, I need to interact with you on this level because it is a battle of the minds. But like, you don't need to interact with people like this. You can just work with them to figure things out. Even if you think Dave is the mastermind, if he's the mastermind, then he already knows more than he's letting on. So you can just interact with him like straightforward and not treat this like you need to interrogate every single word he says. In fact, sharing information might be valuable, especially when it's not at any cost to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very weird. It's very, very weird.
So then I just go back to Benson and he'd say you're lying, which flies in the face of what he said before about being loyal to a fault to the Hammond family. He said that? Yeah. Osmond rubbed his chin before looking to Thanatos, still as pleased with himself as when he'd started this topic.
Does that mean he's, for some reason... Well, I guess he wouldn't be loyal to Roswell because Roswell is the youngest. And he said it's order of seniority, I think.
Yeah. Unless Benson
I don't know if Roswell is a
way
Hammond.
more
I think he
than
is.
Is it, as far as because he seems to be the son of the dead son.
Mm-hmm. Or I thought he was Florencia's son.
Was he Florencia's son? I forgot.
She's the only one that shows up at his grave.
It's been so long. Well, she's just the only one that shows up at the ending. Ever.
Yeah. I'm just saying I'm using what the game has given me. That's all.
I think you're more trapped than I normally am.
Well, it was me. I did it. Why? Do I need a reason? Benson's your family. You wouldn't just try and kill him once and then give up. Or even thank me for it afterwards and agree to meet face to face afterwards either. Fair point. What is it you're meant to say? Check? Oh, what is it you're meant to say? Check? That's what he meant. That's the tone.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're playing a game, are we?
Yes, Osmond, you're the one who's been approaching it like this the whole time.
So Osmond just admitted he killed Benson in the Kill Benson timeline?
I guess.
Is that what that was?
I'm not really following.
He just kills Benson to add to the variations of the timelines or something?
Huh.
Dooming himself? Because he doesn't get to jump timelines. He shook his head, chuckling. Then allow me to make my move next. Consider everything that you've described. What motive could I possibly have to kill Benson, you say? It's not that complicated. Go on. Killing Benson is just more fair. In truth, I want you all off my mountain. If a murder were to occur, you'd be forced to leave. I'm not about to add another child to my list, extending that as far as young adults.
You want to know what else you could do? You could just tell them to leave. Because they're here on your invitation, basically. Someone worked out their ability to be here. You can just tell them no. It's fine. You can say, no, I don't want you here, leave.
But when he warns Dave, he specifically is like, don't leave though, you need to stick it out, you need to hang out. And then they don't leave. And if Dave leaves, everyone disappears, I guess, somehow. Like
I still don't fully understand what Oswin's whole stake in this game was originally, where he's like, your friends are in danger, you need to do this, things will make more sense later. Like, I just don't understand. No. I don't understand why he's participating, you know?
Because it's there as a placeholder and under the assumption the narrative would make sense eventually. And
yeah,
it wasn't seemingly planned what would go. It's very strange.
Like, what I'm saying makes sense though, right? Like, he's in the very start of the game, he's like, I know everything about the conditions of this. We need to figure out what's happening. Your friends are in danger, but you must stick through it. One of your friends is
marked for death, and we must stick this out. But that always saying that he's trying to get people to leave. I'm like, what?
But it's even more. He just doesn't seem to fully understand.
Benson is supposed to be the equivalent of the fucking coin toss at the beginning of Zero Time Dilemma.
Possibly.
It creates a timeline where everyone leaves. Whoa.
But even then, it just doesn't really hold up to scrutiny because there's no real clear. How do I explain this? There's no clear understanding here of like how Oswin went from understanding everything to not really having any clear idea of how anything works. Like, that's very weird to me. That's fine. It's whatever.
I don't know what his deal is. He picked at a bit of lint in his coat, regarding it before flicking it aside. As for you, on the other hand, boy, what better way to cover my tracks with science? What better way than to cover my tracks with science and some elaborate story about the intricacies of time travel, including a talking rat? What? You ate it up, hook, line, and sinker. But you're lying. The words were barely out of my mouth before a sharp pain ran through my head and I slumped over my desk. What?
Dave is so stupid.
Huh?
Dave is just so dumb.
Yeah, I'll tell him, it's fine. Where am I, Ty? Oh, good, you're awake. Awake? Huh? Spacing out again? Ty, what's... The sound of a screeching car and the feeling of Ty pushing me to the ground took me over before the rapid sounds of gunfire rang out, hit me hard as things snapped into black again.
Oh, was this the way that Dave's dad saw Dave die or something? This is supposed to be how Dave was killed in a drive-by from the Dragon Mafia?
End of the line. What? No. What? No! Don't you dare, Jack. Orlando had appeared suddenly, tackling the rabbit to the ground, but was stabbed in the stomach as he had reared back his head, embers crackling. No, please, what's... I came to, breathing hard. I was in the lab again, wondering what was happening, but my eyes settled on a passed out Oswin being prodded by Thanatos. What?
You're awake. Good.
You finished character creation. How did you do that?
Not the first time that trick's come in handy.
But I saw things. I saw things that... No passwords and... What's it...
Oh yeah, I figured I'd just hit you with the frequency. If you can just give visions, why don't you? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that definitely that fully confirms that he can just do it whenever he wants, passwords aside. Then what happened to Oswin?
You're not the only one programmed in, remember? So Oswin can use the vault.
Why? Why did you do that?
I thought Oswin explicitly couldn't use the vault.
I thought that he could knock out anyone. I didn't know he could only knock out people that are programmed in.
I guess, I don't know. Let's call it leveling the playing field.
No. My eyes darted to Oswin, who was starting to stir. He looked as pained as I felt, going through what visions I had seen moments before. No. No. I gave Thanatos a look before reaching out for Oswin's hand, and jolted back as Oswin quickly rose. They can't pick what tense they're riding in, almost falling out of his chair as he got to his feet. Reggie! What? My ex! His eyes were wild. He's not gay.
He can't be. He's stolen valor.
It stands for Regina.
Regina. Perfect.
Yeah. His eyes went.
Smart.
His eyes
they
were
thought
wild.
of everything.
Yeah. His eyes were wild, gaze darting around the room in alarm before he realized where he was. When his eyes found mine, there was a look of defeat on his face, but he said nothing. Instead, picking up his chair and sitting back down and waited for me to speak. Sitting back down and waited. They literally can't maintain a tense in these sentences right now. It's wild. You saw something too, didn't you? I saw my brother die in the hospital, yes. Different to how it happened, but going through it again was hard. I don't think you tried to kill Benson. You wanted to save 2 people. Thanatos' master only wants to save 1. You were devastated when, He put a hand up, shaking his head. It's all right, Dave, you win. Checkmate? Indeed. So, I made no effort to kill Benson. The very thought was terrifying when I was alerted to it happening, or rather, that it could have happened.
Why did you waste our time? Why did you why did you say that you didn't kill him if you didn't? Why? What was the purpose?
I don't know.
Why are you sharing? Why did you obfuscate that?
This?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I have no idea why this character is acting this coy, if only to be annoying.
So what did you do? I did some digging, and my conclusions are... What I mean to say is that...
This part never gets old, seeing Oswin out of words.
You're not going to tell me, are you? I still haven't got a reason why the attempt was made, or considered. Trying to solve potential murders across dimensional iterations is difficult when there is no opportunity or even evidence to go off of. No premeditation either, as far as I can tell. He shook his head, stroking his beard. To that end, no, I'm not going to tell you. Not yet. Not when I need all of you alive. You think it'd spark a fight? I can say for certainty that it was one of your friends, Dave. Not you, but I assure you that someone that arrived with you on that bus wanted Benson dead for reasons I do not know. But I will find out. He stood up, dusting himself off. I'll be doing my best to continue to hide who I believe it is until there's some solid evidence, however.
Why?
I've instructed
would
Benson
you hide
to
it?
I don't know.
Especially if you don't understand
spark a
the
fight.
purpose
Like
of
you
it.
could just tell Dave.
Yeah.
You're trying to solve things and work together, but also just why let the conversation get this far if you're just gonna say no?
Yeah.
What was the point of the last 20 minutes of him talking then? I've instructed Benson to be careful in the meantime as well. What am I meant to do now? You said one of my friends is a murderer.
Oh my god.
And I'm sorry for that, but it is the truth. If you find it easier, assume I'm lying.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?
I won't tell you what I know because it'll spark a fight, but I will make you suspicious of all of your friends by just blanket blaming them so that you don't trust any of them now. I stood slowly, head down and glancing across at Thanatos. He's not lying, is he?
What does it matter? You've already decided.
Nodding, I look back at Oswin, the corner of my mouth pulled back in a grimace. Was there anything else? I don't believe so. Should anything else come up, I'll seek you out. Okay. I'd suggest joining the others. Should they ask of what I wanted with you, I'd suggest you tell them,
Vault experimentation.
Pardon?
That's the result that yields the best outcome from what I've seen, unless you want to run the risk of letting Junior here come up with his own lie.
No, I can go with that. It's true enough after, what you did. Dave, we'll get to the bottom of what's happening, I promise. Yeah, well, hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. I left the lab and headed down the corridor back out into the basement. The others had already moved on, as expected, and I followed their voices upstairs to where they seemed to be gathered.
We're not starting till Dave gets back.
Sorry, I'm here.